Hello and welcome to day 2 of week 34 on our journey through the book of Acts. And in this video, we're going to look at the Greek of Acts 27, 9 through 20, I think it is. So a lot of verses today, but it's mostly sailing stuff. And I'll be honest, I don't know the vocabulary as well with the Greek of sailing. Not a lot of this kind of vocabulary, I suppose, in the New Testament, but we'll make it through because I can pause it, right? Verse 9. Now, sometime being past, having passed, genitive absolute, right? Noun in the genitive, participle in the genitive. Gen indicates that this is aorist, having passed. Diagenomai, so it's deponent. So it's aorist, middle deponent participle in our passive or middle participles. From diagenomai. So a sufficient time having passed, and already the voyage being unsafe. This is another genitive absolute. Luke loves genitive absolutes. The voyage is genitive here, and then participle in the genitive. My aunt is an active participle. This is of ami. So an unsafe. Already the voyage being unsafe, because of the, now here's an infinitive construction, because of the even fast already to have passed. Okay, so this is dia ta infinitive. It's a causal construction because of something being the case. This is if you look at elelutha, this is the perfect form, irregular perfect, very irregular, of erchomai, so par erchomai. So it's a perfect in its infinitive, 6 of the 7 infinitive forms ended in I, to have passed, and it's still passed. So on account of to have passed, the fast already, the fast is the Day of Atonement, of course, which happens late in the year. So the fast is already passed. Paul was urging, saying to them, so this is the imperfect of par eino, believe it is, par eino. Sorry, I'm going to go with that. Par eino, it's imperfect, it's been augmented. So Paul was urging them, saying, men, I perceive, I behold that the voyage to going to be, it's kind of a strange construction. You have an infinitive here that means to be about, and then to be going to be, the future infinitive of ami. I perceive that the voyage going to be with damage and much cost, not only of cargo, but of boat, but also of our lives, souls meaning lives. So this is dangerous. And I talked a little bit about the kind of twists and turns here, because they didn't lose any lives, but they would have without God's intervention, is the way I take this. That in the natural cause and effects, they would have lost lives if God hadn't intervened, if Paul hadn't prayed, the power of prayer to change things, right? So this is true. It was true. It didn't happen because of God's intervention. It's kind of a matrix moment. Verse 11, but the centurion by the captain and the ship owner rather was persuaded than by the things being spoken by Paul. So interesting, the word for sea captain looks like cybernetics. What's up with that? I'm sure there's a story there. Okay, this is the imperfect of patho. So it's imperfect middle indicative, third singular from patho. Rather than, this is this word used as than, by the things being spoken by Paul. This is the present because it's leg. It's passive because men are passive participles. The things being spoken by Paul, agency. Verse 12, and the harbor being unsuitable for the wintering. Okay, another genitive absolute, noun in the genitive participle in the genitive. This is a present active participle of huparco. The harbor being unsuitable to the wintering. Okay, I think this is just a noun. Yes, the wintering. The majority were putting counsel to be let up from there. Okay, so they were. Luke's not part of this decision. This is tithemi, the aorist of tithemi, because it doesn't have the ti. They were putting counsel. They were deciding. Theta eta is aorist passive, so it's an aorist passive infinitive, to be let up from there. If somehow they would be able, again, Paul's interesting that Luke's speaking in the third person here, not we. If somehow they would be able, having reached into Phoenix, to winter there. So again, this is a partial fourth class condition, which is A with the optative. This is optative. I know it's optative because it has an alpha iota connecting vowel. So oi, I, and A, epsilon iota, as connecting vowels are indicators of the optative. If somehow, this is an optative of potential optative. If somehow they would be able, having reached to Phoenix, so this is sigma alpha, which is aorist. Myont is an active participle, so this is an aorist active participle. Having reached into Phoenix, to winter there. This is sigma alpha tells me it's aorist. The alpha iota tells me it's infinitive, so it's an aorist active infinitive. The harbor, it's a harbor. Phoenix is a harbor of Crete, looking to the southwest and the northwest. This koron normally means country, but here it seems to mean toward, I don't know, maybe Italy's the country. And now it's time for more bad maps with Ken. So this is a bad drawing of Crete. I'm not going to pretend that it's a good drawing of Crete. So basically, they've been at Fair Havens, and they're wanting to make Phoenix. So they're hoping to creep along the underbelly of Crete to get to Phoenix. And I've probably drawn Phoenix too far this way because Phoenix, in order for it to face both southwest and northwest, it needs to be further along. So bad Ken. But anyway, you get the basic idea, I hope, here. So a south wind blowing gently, so you can see the pneuma in there, the pneu, the breathing, and it's breathing under. So it's a wisp, a south wind breathing, blowing gently, having considered with purpose to have held close, having taken up they were thinking to creep along slowly Crete. So they're thinking that they can kind of slowly inch their way down Crete and get just a little bit further down to Phoenix. So what do we have here? This is C is the key to a hidden sigma. So the hidden sigma alpha tells me it's aorist. Sigma alpha tells me this is aorist. Sigma alpha tells me this is aorist. This is an aorist participle, right? Myont is an active participle. This is an aorist participle. Having considered, with purpose, genitive. This is a perfect infinitive. I can tell it's perfect because the reduplication is perfect active infinitive because the kappa. And then the I tells me it's infinitive. To have held fast or held close, to hold. And then this is the imperfect of paralego, perfect middle. Okay, so that's what they're planning on doing. Let's see if it works. Verse 14, but not much time after that, a hurricane force wind, a wind with hurricane force, the one being called Herakulos, the northeaster. So it was just waiting, as soon as they set out, I'm going to blow from the northeast and make sure they can't make Phoenix. It cast against us. This ballistics, it threw against us. This is the aorist of balo because it's lost a lambda. And so This is the Huracalos, the northeaster. They have a name for this wind. So they get out here and bam, the smooth wind goes and the Huracalos, comes in. There's the island of Cauda that we're going to mention here. And the boat, having been seized and not being able to head into the wind, having given up, we were carried. Okay. So this is theta epsilon. It's aorist passive participle. Not being able. So this is a present middle participle. It's deponent, dunamai. To face into the wind. This is a present infinitive. This is imperfect. We were being carried. Perfect passive indicative. This is a participle from epididymi, to give up. It's aorist because it's lost the di. It's a participle because the aunt, having given up. Verse 16, and we were scarcely strong, running under a certain, and running under a certain island, being called Cauda. So there's Cauda right there. So they're trying to kind of be protected. I guess Cauda doesn't have a harbor. Maybe they can't go in there, or maybe they're not able to steer into there. This is hupotrecho. It's the aorist. Hupodrama. We don't want no drama. But they're having it. So this is hupotrecho, which has an irregular aorist. So this is a aorist active participle from hupotrecho. Running to the lee of, remember the lee, the other side, running to the lee of the island, a certain island, being called Cauda. We were scarcely strong to become in control of the lifeboat, the scaphe, to become aorist infinitive. So they which, having lifted up, so they get the lifeboat. It must have been kind of hanging over the side. They get it on the big boat, the lifeboat. So they're having trouble here, and apparently, Luke is helping here. We were strong, aorist, because of the sigma alpha, which, having lifted it up, this is the aorist participle of airo. They were using help. So Luke wasn't a part of this apparently. This is the imperfect of kraomai, so it's deponent. They were using help, and help is dative, I think, because the verb for use takes its object in the dative. Binding the boat, so they're running ropes under the ship to strengthen the boat, hold it together. And fearing, present middle participle, it's deponent, phobeomai, lest into the Syrtis they might fall. This is apparently some sandbars around there. I assume maybe somewhere around here. Fearing lest they would fall into the Syrtis. This is ekpipto, to fall out. It's the aorist because pes, and it's subjunctive because of the may, lest they should fall out. Having put down the vessel, I assume this is the anchor. They're going to maybe drag it against the bottom, maybe. Aorist because of the sigma alpha. My notes suggest it could be lowering the sail. The vessel, what is the vessel? Lowering the vessel. I assume it's the anchor. Having lowered the anchor, thus we were being carried. Again, perfect passive. Verse 18, and violently us being stormed. So they're having a hard time here. On the next day, they were making overboard. They were throwing stuff overboard, in other words. And on the third day, they were again they threw overboard the vessel of the boat by hand. Is that the anchor? Anyway, they're throwing stuff overboard. They're getting rid of stuff. But it could be anchor. If this is anchor, this would be anchor, wouldn't it? Although it's different, right? This is toskuos, which is neuter, and this is tains. So they were throwing stuff overboard. Maybe not the anchor here. By hand. This is the aorist. C is the key to the hidden sigma alpha. This, by the way, is imperfect of poieo. Verse 20, and neither sun nor stars appearing, it's genitive absolute. This is, my aunt is an active participle, epiphino, so it's present, active participle. And neither sun nor stars appearing for many days, and the storm not a little coming upon us, another genitive absolute. The rest, all hope was lost that we would be saved. Okay, so this is the subject, all hope. This seems to be something like an adverb, and the rest, remaining. What was left was. This is imperfect. We're lost. Hope was lost. So this is epi-iro or something along those lines. Let me just double check real quick. It is peri-ireo, be given up. All hope was given up. So this is a imperfect passive indicative of peri-ireo. For us to be saved. This is a infinitive, present, a passive infinitive, to be saved, of the to be saved. We get the sense of it here, that we might be saved. You might call this a result, an infinitive of result, with the result that we would be saved. But you can translate it fine by saying all hope was lost that we would be saved. Okay, sounds pretty dire. What will happen? Will Batman and Robin, no, okay, what will happen to Paul and Luke? We'll find out tomorrow, Lord willing.